Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to
Morning.
everybody who has joined in and for today's session. I'd just like to welcome everybody to today's session, which is the launch of our State of Expanded Public Works program within South African cities. So we'll be launching that report pertaining to our 2018-2019 statistics. So I'd like to officially welcome everybody who has joined in on today's call. I do understand that there are tons of technical issues that are also pertaining, so thank you so much, especially for individuals who are also braving in through the cold to join us this morning. And not to further delay our engagement today, I'd just like to firstly introduce myself. My name is Nomfundo Faith Dlamini. I am the Program Manager for Productive Cities at the South African Cities Network, and I happen to be the co-chair for the Expanded Public Works Program Reference Group, which is a conglomerate of city practitioners who are all leading the Epwp program within their respective cities, and we have that nationally pertaining to all the metros that are part of the participating metros and participating cities within the South African Cities Network. So to not waste any more time, I would like us to get straight into our agenda for today, as we have tons of insights pertaining to this particular element of the report. I would like to also just highlight some of our housekeeping rules, just to ensure that our rules of engagement are understood. We will be requesting everybody to please just mute their microphones, considering that there will be a few individuals giving us some of their perspectives, so not to also interfere with our transmission. So if everybody can please mute their mic, in the essence that there are technical issues or challenges that one is facing, please do feel free to engage on the chat. So the chat is made available should there be a follow-up question that one might have pertaining to some of the inputs. Otherwise, I think that is it. If there's any other housekeeping rules that I might have forgotten, please do refer to the chat. We will ensure to put that up there. Yeah, so as we are carrying on with our program today, like I said, I'd like to welcome even the individuals who are still joining in as we are speaking, and then also just kindly also introduce our first speaker, who is Mr. Sithole Mbanga, the CEO of South African Cities Network, who will just be giving us a brief overview and context setting pertaining to the 2018-19 Epwp annual reporting program. Thank you, Sithole.
Can you hear me, Nomfundo? Ignatius, can you hear me?
Good morning, I can hear you. Good morning, colleagues. I can hear you.
Okay, I hear Ignatius saying that he can hear me. Good morning, colleagues. As Nomfundo introduced me, my name is Sithole Mbanga. I was looking at the list of participants here, and I came across two very interesting names. The first is Sharon Lewis. I don't know whether you are in India or you are back in South Africa, Sharon. I'm not quite sure whether you came back before the lockdown. But welcome indeed. And I'm specifically mentioning Sharon because she is one of the first cohort of people that was part and parcel of establishing the South African Cities Network. Back then, there possibly were 3 people, and she was one of the 3 people. So you speak of the expanded public works program today. She is possibly one of the foundations or the early people that conceptualized how cities should be responding to the expanded public works. So a hearty welcome, Sharon. Then as I was scanning Nomfundo, I came across a name, Odwa Tia, and I kept on wondering if at all he's related to a very dear friend of mine with whom I was at university, Kwezi. But anyway, that's a subject for another debate. Are you related? I don't know. It's a pity I can't see his face. So
no, this
you
is
are.
me. Yeah, no, we are related. He's my cousin.
You are related.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thanks very much. Please pass my greetings to Kwezi.
No, okay, so.
Okay.
Thanks. All right.
Okay. Ignatius, a special thanks to you for holding the fort, for a very, very long time. I mean, it's very rare, well, these days anyway, to find practitioners, being married to their subject matter. And you've been very much a champion of the expanded public works program. I trust that we, as the Cities Network, SALGA, and the Department of Public Works have done as much work as possible to make sure that we make the work of cities and city practitioners as it pertains to the expanded public works program and hopefully other programs. Hopefully we have made their work easy. And where it is that we are not doing work to ensure that we make your work easy, I think it's quite important that we interact on those and see how it is that we can improve. So, colleagues, Nomfundo has asked me to just lay a context, and I suspect there is no better time to speak about the relevance of the expanded public works than the time that we are in, which is what is popularly known as the era of the pandemic, which in local government speak, as I listen, we are calling it the era of governing in an emergency, because we are governing in an emergency at this point in time. And this era which we're governing in, the emergency era, came in at a time, number one, when the economy of the country was just flat. And I suspect it continues to be on a downward spiral until such time that I was listening to the Minister of Finance saying that one of the things that we're going to have to do is to turbocharge the economic engines, if at all we are going to go back to what used to be the normal. Secondly, COVID and the governance in an emergency came at a time when there was just high unemployment. And in fact, you will recall, Ignatius, that the first generation of the EPWP was in part an attempt to respond to the inability of many of our citizens to access jobs, and the EPWP was conceptualized initially as just a job identification type of a program, so that we can create job opportunities for people that otherwise would not access the economy formally in the form of jobs. But I think today, Nomfundo and colleagues, I'm quite convinced that the expanded public works program of government is going to take center stage. I mean, if you listened to the president quite recently and some of the statements that he has made, if you listened to the Minister of Finance, and I think if you listen to the leaders throughout the globe, there's nothing that is more imperative now than not only saving lives, but also identifying jobs, right? So my imagination is that at some point, the expanded public works program is likely to be reconceptualized, and in its reconceptualization, it's likely to take a center stage. And as the various reports on the expanded public works indicate, cities are quite central to ensuring a successful public works implementation program. Not because they are just cities, but because that's where the bulk of the population resides. That's where, in fact, most of the poverty has moved to. In 1994, we used to argue back in the days that poverty is very much a rural phenomena. But I think 20, 25 years down the line of democracy, clearly poverty has moved into urban centers. And that's where the public works program also finds a considerable amount of its own relevance. So I think the launch of this report is not only reflective of the amount of work that you have championed, Ignatius, and the 60 practitioners have implemented on the ground, but I think it's a reflection of the relevance of the public works program. So it seems to me that for a very long time, we are going to require a public works-led type of job opportunity identification, because human beings being human beings just need occupation, you know, and the public works program is quite relevant to that effect. Having said that, I'm not going to at all even attempt to speak to the content of the report. I think you colleagues are the most well-placed people to speak to what the content of the report says, and I suspect also inform the public policy machinery on how it is that we can unveil an alternative public works program that responds to the new conditions of governing in an emergency revealed to us. And with those few words, I hope that, Nomfundo, I have somewhat laid the foundations and the background of where we come from with the expanded public program, and also being indicative of the future of the public works program. So thanks very, very much for allowing me to make these opening remarks. I will hand over to you, Chairperson Nomfundo. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Sithole. This is why you're quite integral in especially being able to give us the context in terms of where it is that the program has emanated from and where it is that we're likely to head to, because these are definitely some of the policy imperatives that we've been trying to tackle within the report, and especially also within discussions as the reference group. So thank you so much for those sentiments. I think they're well received, and they're definitely food for thought, especially with us trying to propel what it is that we are wanting the program to be able to achieve. And thankfully also we have all the city representatives here today as well who have engaged, and they're really at the forefront and the brunt in terms of what it is that needs to transpire within cities as the mechanisms, like you said, and hotspots for development and where urban crisis is most felt. So thank you so much, Sithole, for those sentiments. We appreciate your contribution all the time, and we also welcome you to pop into our reference group and see how it has evolved. Sharon as well, we also extend a warm welcome to you to also come see how the Epwp reference group and program has also evolved, and the new faces that are also championing this within the cities. So thank you once again, Sithole. I'd like to also hand over now and introduce a man who probably doesn't need much introduction, being Mr. Ignatius Ariro, who's the Chief Director at National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, and he'll be giving us today the presentation on some of the key messages that can be found within the report. So good morning, well, Ignatius, my co-chair as well in the Epwp reference group.
Thank you very much, Nomfundo. Thank you, Sithole. Good morning, colleagues. It's wonderful to connect with everyone, especially during these times, the time of the pandemic and these times of COVID. We're thankful that at least with technology, we're able to connect and continue pushing forward. This report is a landmark, the 1819 report. Thanks, Nomfundo and the colleagues for the hard work. It's not been easy, and the cities as well for giving us inputs. I think the central, in terms of the key messages, what the report is showing us and what Sithole has captured as well is that the creation of work opportunities remains very, very integral in terms of our objective as Epwp. So it's very, I think one of the key things that we can say is that job creation is very important. From the report as well, we're able to see that some of in terms of the quality of the work opportunities, Some cities have done better in terms of full-time equivalents. I think Epwp has shown a lot of quality in terms of the quality of the full-time equivalents. In other words, the work opportunity durations are longer, and that's where we want to go, that we have work opportunities that are longer in duration so that we have a good impact in terms of poverty alleviation. The other thing that is very important is institutional arrangements. We're also seeing that it's very, very important that we have proper institutional arrangements within the cities to coordinate EPWP. That's a message that is coming out also very strongly, because where there are good institutional arrangements, you find that the performance of the city is quite good, and you find that the performance is going beyond infrastructure into different sectors, which is something that we also want to see. And to get the institutional arrangements right, we need to have good political buy-in within the city. So those are challenges that we need to grapple with. That indeed, if we can get good buy-in within the city, good political support, and then that will cascade down to good administrative support, we can then focus on the business of creating work opportunities. So the other thing that also comes out very strongly is that in order to keep EPWP sustainable, we need to have good policy that has been adopted by the institutions. Where we don't have a policy, or the policy is not updated, you find that then EPWP depends on individuals and champions. If that champion is gone, then you have to start all over again. But at least if you have a policy, even if a particular champion leaves the city, the policy can then guide. So it's very important that even as we go forward, we ensure that we have policies that are adopted by council, policies that are very that are appropriate, that are relevant to the situation we have within the cities. Also, what is coming out very strongly, I think, just going ahead of myself, just going beyond the report, the role of EPWP and public works programs is being emphasized very, very strongly during this COVID response. It's something we'll discuss in our meeting even further, but public employment programs are seen as a very, very critical response of government. And you might have had in the budget speech, in the supplementary budget speech, there's a sum of about 6 billion that has been put aside for public employment programs. But also, if you look at some of the programs within the municipalities, there's a lot of focus on things like water and sanitation, which is critical in terms of fighting the pandemic. There are a lot of interventions in terms of public health. So those are opportunities for us. We have to be, going forward, we'll need to be innovative and move with the times. There's opportunity for new programs coming up now. For example, EPWP has had to adapt quickly. We are, through the non-profit organizations, we have appointed, we've recruited members of the community to help with public health campaigns. So I would think in the cities, it's very critical. The cities are now an epicenter of the pandemic, if you may say, so it's important that we respond towards that. But just to summarize, key messages, if we look at the report, one, work opportunity creation remains very central to what we are doing. So we must remember that's our objective. And then as we create work opportunities, we have to think about creating quality work opportunities. And we can do that by making the work opportunities, designing programs that have work opportunities that are longer in duration. Secondly, we can go beyond one sector, infrastructure. We look at the different sectors we mainstream. The issue of institutional arrangements and mainstreaming of EPWP is also a very important message that we need to take forward. So we need to work towards mainstreaming, and to get mainstreaming, we need political buy-in, we need administrative buy-in as well. We also need appropriate policy to be adopted within the cities. And then the third thing I would say is we need to be innovative. The issue of innovation is important. That as we implement EPWP, we need to be innovative. We need to look at opportunities. We need to look at new programs so that we are able to support or create more work opportunities for different people. So, Chair, those are the key messages that I would like to share with colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ignatius. I think that's extremely insightful, especially having also learned about the recent developments with how it is that we want to expand our public employment programs, especially in the light of COVID and whatever it is that our urban economies are going to be constituted to being in the future. It's great that work opportunities is something that even the report touches on, and how it is that we need to be more innovative in terms of how it is that we implement these to actually have a sustainable impact, especially with our rising unemployment rate. Now more than ever, I think EPWP does need to be expanded or extended beyond its current measure to be a really forceful safety net for a majority of individuals within our country, considering that it specifically also targets women, targets youth, and persons with disabilities. So thank you so much, Ignatius, for those remarks and outlining the key messages pertaining to our report. I just wanted to also flag now our next particular segment, which pertains to our EPWP city responses, where we'd actually like to engage with the reference group members and hear their particular viewpoints pertaining to what's transpiring within their cities, which I think is quite integral to also have your finger on the pulse pertaining to what's transpiring within all of our metros and urban areas. We do have an apology from Buffalo City. Unfortunately, our colleague is not well. And also understanding the current space and time and dispensation that we're under, we also just wish him well and a speedy recovery during this particular time. And this, I'd like to first start off with our colleague Lulu Ngomane from Ekurhuleni. Oslulu, are you there? Okay. In the essence that Lulu is not able to assist us, Osvelile, can you help? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Well,
she's having a bit of a problem with connection, but
okay.
We can start with another city and then she will be up and running in a short while.
Okay, no problem. If you can just give me an indication when she is able to join us, which then I'd like to maybe speak to our colleague Bongani Hlope from eThekwini. Hi, Bongani, can you hear me?
Sorry, Chair. Lulu has just joined us.
Okay, so we'll give Lulu just a second and just carry on with Bongani Hlope from eThekwini. Hi, Bongani, can you hear me? Did we lose?
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, excellent. Hi,
Hello.
Bongani. Hello, Bongani, can you hear us?
Hi, colleagues. Yes, hi, colleagues. I can hear you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Thanks, Bongani, for joining in. We just wanted to get your perspectives from the city of eThekwini pertaining to an EPWP flagship project within your city. If maybe you can just also outline for the individuals who have joined in on our launch pertaining to what the project is about, some challenges, and what interventions more specifically have you put in place in order for you to be able to achieve success?
Okay, colleagues, thank you for the opportunity, Chair, and thank you, Ignatius, for the wonderful report. Again, good morning, colleagues. Well, with us as eThekwini, let me gloat first that we have overachieved our targets for the 2019-2020 financial year by 105%. We've have created more than 16,000 work opportunities for the year. Our flagship project is Zibambele. Zibambele is the core, deals with the core fundamental issues or fundamentals of EPWP. It targets mostly women. It targets mostly the very, very poorest of the poor who work in the areas where they live, cleaning the roads and maintaining the roads. And it's very effective. As Ignatius was saying, it's the most powerful impact is that it is longer sustainable. So you don't have someone getting an opportunity for 2 weeks or 3 months and then they are off the program. It's longer, and therefore it has that impact in terms of the socioeconomic conditions that our people are facing. The interventions that we have put in place to achieve our targets in the main is that firstly the institutional arrangement. For instance, if I may make an example, we got our city leadership to make sure that a memo is circulated to all departments in the city to say EPWP is not a by the way thing. All labor-intensive projects must be registered and reported upon, and that has had a great impact in terms of us being able to report and participate in the EPWP program. So I think that's the main intervention that we have been able to do. And secondly, EPWP with us, the overall coordination in the city, it's located in the mayor's office, and therefore it gives that strength and weight, in terms of departments participating and reporting. However, we still have a long way to go in terms of formalizing the actual structure. The structure is there, but the positions are not filled yet, etc. But we are getting there, and we've got full support from our political leadership and our administrative leadership.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sope. We appreciate that. Oslulu from Ekurhuleni, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Nomfundo.
Great. It's so good to have you join us. I wanted you to please provide us with your perspectives and reflections on maybe another EPWP project within your city, and hopefully also just outline for us some of the objectives and its successes, and why you found that EPWP program is quite important within our cities.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. I must just say upfront, I'm double booked. I need to switch to the CAPEX meeting where I'm presenting after our budget for water and sanitation was passed yesterday. So I need to quickly run through what this program is all about, and then I would leave the meeting. I'll request that I'll be excused. But my colleague Ausfedile is here. So basically, I'm in the water and sanitation department in supporting their CAPEX program. But this EPWP program is basically an artisan training program for plumbers, because we saw a need that was informed by the age cohort of the current plumbers within the 12 water and sanitation depots within the city. So you could see that the old toppies, when they leave the employ of the city, there is no younger generation that's coming up that are qualified, because in terms also of the standards, you need to have so many plumbers looking after X kilometers of pipeline. So we could see that the complement that we have vis-a-vis the plan to have people in future, as much as we will not be able to take all of them within the employ of the city, but they will be, of course, plumbers that are trained for the sector, if I may put it that way. So basically, this is a 3-year plumbing apprenticeship program. And another lesson was that in EPWP, when you strive to give them a program with an element of accredited training, there is no way that you will be recycling them, because that's what, again, we have picked up, that they hop in one program from one program to another. When this one ends, they go to another one, because there is no skill attached to what the programs are given to them. So that was another driver, that this program should be an accredited program, so that even if they are not employed by the city when they are finished, but they will have an artisan train certificate that they can take their toolbox and look for jobs elsewhere. After all, we have meters that are leaking in our own homes, not necessarily in the municipalities. So they will be able to be self-employed beyond this EPWP program. So basically now we are in the 18th month of the 3-year program, because this is 3 years. For the first 6 months, from December 2018, they started with the college. We sent them to the Ekurhuleni TVET College, where they did their 6 months training on the elements of the program. And then they came back to our depots, where we linked them with the teams that are going out with qualified artisans. So each team of the 12 depots had 10 learners that they have to spread across those teams. We targeted to train 300, but due to budgetary constraints, we started with 100. So we still have, in fact, we started with 120. Challenges is the dropouts, because of the 120 that I started with in 2018, now I have 100. Of course, I think that talks to the high rate of unemployment, not necessarily that people were coming on the program because they wanted to be plumbers, but I think they just saw an opportunity to earn a stipend, which now was a lesson to us to intensify our recruitment processes, so that when we interview them, we know exactly that it's people that want to come into that program. So that's one lesson that we've picked up, because those dropouts, it's really people, when the going was getting tougher at the college, you could tell that it's people who do not want to learn, but it's people who were here for the stipend. So they couldn't keep up with the work at the college, so they dropped out. So the youngsters now that we have on the program, they are currently busy now writing exams for their N2. In fact, they will be starting next week because of COVID. They had to reschedule the exams, the Department of Education. So they will be writing now their exams. So you could tell that it's a combination of workplace learning with plumbing designated trade theory. And within the depots, they are linked with like qualified artisans. Like I said, they are not working on their own. But as you know, that the setup within the municipality, we work not with domestic plumbing, but networks in our depots. So what we did was to link them with the facilities department of the city, the rental stock, where they go out now and fix geysers and toilets and faucets and showers, so that we get the all-round theoretical and practical training that's required of them before they go and write the trade test. So in a nutshell, that's basically what the program is all about. And they will exit in next year. Hopefully we will still keep them just for experiential training before they go write their trade test. So basically the program, that's what it is. Thanks.
No, thank you. Thank you, Oslo. That was very informative. And we're really appreciating, I think, the thoroughness in terms of being able to think about not just the impact, but also the outcome of the project from a longevity perspective, especially for the individuals concerned. I'd also just like to ask, is Lula Mandlovu from the city of Johannesburg here with us?
Patson is
Hi,
here.
Nomfundo.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Nomfundo.
Yes.
Hi, Nomfundo.
Yes,
Oh,
I can.
okay. If there are no questions directed at the program or myself that I need to answer, may I be excused, please?
Yes, yes, Oslulu. Thank you so much for coming through. If there's anything, we will direct it through Osfedile for your attention.
I'm excused.
Yes, thank you.
I missed that.
I said yes, 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 you are. Thank you.
Okay, then. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
So thank you, Patson. You had mentioned that you'll come through for the city of Joburg. So what we were requesting is maybe to get your insights on what are your recommendations in mitigating some of the challenges related to coordination and implementation of EPWP, especially as witnessed and experienced by the city of Johannesburg.
Thank you, Nofundo, and colleagues from different cities and Ignatius. We really appreciate to be given this opportunity as the city of Joburg. I heard eThekwini saying they have achieved their targets. It's well and good. we really appreciate. But however, in terms of coordination in the city, I know, like other cities as well, that we are affected with your political paradigm shift. But however, coordination in the city is centralized, where you've got a coordinating office within the Department of Economic Development, strategically so, because economic development really coordinate the economic growth, especially looking at the city. We also guided by the EPWP policy, which I think is core, more especially in ensuring that department and municipal-owned entities adhere to implementation and as well as reporting and also compliance. Within these respective departments and municipal-owned entities, we also have what we call Epwp Champion. So a champion is responsible for everything within their respective entities to ensure that they do a reporting, to ensure that Epwp is implemented. You've got project managers who understand what Epwp is, and they report to a champion, and then the champion will then consolidate the reporting to the Epwp office within the Department of Economic Development. Also, what is key with regard to coordination and implementation of Epwp is that the Epwp targets and requirements should be embedded on the HOD's scorecards, as well as the champion's scorecard. We are now going as far as project managers that they should also have Epwp targets on their scorecard. Remember, within a department or within an entity where they've got projects, you find that you've got individuals who are responsible for certain projects. So from those projects, that's where our targets are coming from. So it means the project manager should as well have targets for the projects that they are coordinating. And what we have also seen working for the city is the incorporation of targets into the business plans. So the business plans have got Epwp targets and the requirements as well. So which is key. It does drive the implementation of Epwp within the city. And also what we have seen working for us is that Epwp is a standing agenda item in most of the executive forums, including your EMT, which is coordinated by this or is chaired by the city manager, including even the mayoral committee, which is chaired by the mayor. EPWP is a standing agenda item. I think this is very key, more especially if you want to see EPWP running smoothly within the city. Lastly, we also enforce EPWP through what we call the practice note, which is signed. It's a note that circulates to all head of departments and municipal entities to ensure that there is compliance on EPWP, to ensure the consequences of them not participating, not reporting on EPWP. Chair, this is what, in fact, the city of Joburg currently is doing in terms of, with regard to coordination and implementation of EPWP. I thank you.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Patson Kosa. I can see that you're definitely giving Etiwini a run for its money with regards to how it is that EPWP is also being implemented within the city. And I have no bias. Let me just say, I love all my cities, especially the city that is coming through now, being the city of Mangaung. So I'd just also like to get inputs from Os Gloria on the fact that given that we are now entering into phase 4 of the EPWP program, what are the important lessons that you feel that we should be able to take forward?
Good morning, Nosinda. Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning, colleagues. It's good to be this meeting again, and everybody is well. Thanks for the opportunity to be part of this launch and also to put in our input. The challenges that we experience in cities, as we well know. What I've learned over the years, over the phases of EPWP is EPWP as a program is a great program, and it has benefited a lot of participants, and it has been impacting a lot of participants throughout the program and throughout South Africa as well. However, those impacts are still undermined. You know, us as technocrats of EPWP, yes, we see the impact, but generally, I think the much impact that is experienced by the participants are really undermined. You know, the self-worth that they feel, the hope that the program brings, the little income that they receive, the opportunities, the skills, the exposure, those we're not really seeing how it is impacting them. And I think we've learned that we need to document it well and promote EPWP and champion it and create awareness around it so that the way we see it, everybody sees it, and maybe it will receive the recognition it deserves. And secondly, also what we've learned moving forward is how important and how key is the institutional arrangement. I think everybody who's presented today has touched on the importance of putting a proper institutional arrangement. You know, making sure that there are policies in place and guidelines to guide us in how to implement or coordinate the EPWP successfully, you know, and also capacity to put the proper structures in each public body which coordinates, but also the political buy-in is key. And as in the case of Mangaung and other cities as well, if you do not have support, then it does not matter efforts or policies that you put in place. It's not going to work. So both political and administrative buy-in is very key. And also, lastly, the accountability, because even if you could put all those institutional arrangements, policies in place, but if there's no accountability, then it does not serve purpose for the objectives of EPWP.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Oscar, for those very insightful comments. I think it's been quite an apparent message throughout the cities, and especially also from our two previous speakers, National Department of Public Works, as well as from SACN, just how important it is for us to be able to mainstream the EPWP agenda, and being able to do this through institutionalization is really coming out quite strongly. And these are sentiments that we obviously are quite serious about. I'm not sure if our colleague from Sunduzi, Mr. Mandla Zuma, has been able to join us. I know that he was experiencing technical issues. Okay.
Hi, Chair. No, Mandla is still struggling. I'm still trying to assist them, yeah. So apologies from Musunduzi for now.
Yes, so we'll note that. Thank you for just informing me, Ms. V. And on that note, I would like to also just hear sentiments from Nelson Mandela Bay Metro and speak to Sicelo Mnyaka. But Sicelo, are you there?
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think, as you would have heard also in terms of the conversation, some of the challenges, some of the mitigations, some of the flagship projects that cities are speaking to based on their particular experiences, and what kind of interventions for us to place, especially going through into the successes of what we would deem are necessary for phase 4. I'd like to just get your insights pertaining to what other stakeholders do you feel must be included to achieve the successful implementation of EPWP going forward.
Firstly, just before going outside, the stakeholders outside, I think, colleagues, by now I can confirm to you that in the Nelson Mandela, the EPWP is no longer a mandate of an isolated department or directorate. It's a KPI that sits in city managers' performance contract and with all executive directors. That assists in the coordination and reporting, because everybody in the system now, with respect to project implementation, the executive directors are held to account on quarterly basis with respect to their performance, and they do so also with their project managers. I can also inform you, colleagues, that EPWP coordinators, or if you like, managers, are now sitting in supply chain committees, particularly specification, just to ensure that all contracts that goes through the system are indicating exactly the requirements of EPWP implementation in each project. So on that score, we are very happy that the system is responding positively. For reporting purposes, you would all understand the reporting procedures that we report to the standing committee. It's economic development, and such performance management plays a role on quarterly basis. So in terms of the system is maturing with in its uptake to EPWP. That's one for me. The projects that we can pride ourselves with, it's what I think Tekwini has spoken into. We are a drought-ridden region, and the city has then decided to reinforce its capacity in ensuring that we don't lose more water. ATTP program is what we have as EPWP. We've employed about 107 ATTP plumbers. They are going through training. In fact, they've been through training. They are now working in various wards, trying to eliminate water losses for the city, which is a big gain for us as a city. The other program is the collaboration between ourselves, which was necessitated by the unfortunate COVID-19. The collaboration between ourselves, the city and the district health department. We forever have a program for caregiving in our communities. That program, we are now implementing and being led into it by Department of Health in tracing and testing in our communities. You must have heard that the Eastern Cape is battling, particularly in the area of testing and tracing. We've allocated to them more than 50 caregivers, more than 60 caregivers. They are assisting that department. They are appreciating that support that we are giving them. But we are also taking lessons as the city in terms of collaborating with other stakeholders in ensuring that we're effective on the ground. So I would want to leave it there. We also have employed about 350 under this period of COVID-19, 350 participants, and train them. We are mining the report in as far as the conduct and public awareness in spaza shops. You would know, colleagues, that South Africa is sprawled with spaza shops, and that's where the risk is in our communities. Our participants have been trained, and they are interacting with spaza shops, bringing to them sanitizers and ensuring that social distancing is adhered to. That's another project that we are happy with as the city. Let me leave you there for now, colleagues.
No, thank you, Mr. Nyaga. Thank you, Butstelo, so much. I'd like to possibly bring in Alice Mpahlela then from the city of Tshwane, who will be able to possibly give us some of her thoughts pertaining to which other stakeholders must be included to achieve successful implementation of EPWP going forward. Hello, Alice.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
We're good, thank you.
Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much and good morning to all the colleagues. And thanks for the opportunity for organizing this meeting so that we can keep up with progress with regard to EPWP implementation. So coming to my question, the stakeholder, before I talk to the stakeholder that we need to include going forward, let me just give this picture for the city of Tshwane. In the city of Tshwane, like any other city, the division, EPWP division, is responsible for facilitating job creation in the city in terms of reporting what has been created. And up to so far, we managed to make sure that each financial year we allocate targets guided by the national targets to all the departments in the city. So this forms part of the scorecard of the group heads of each and every department. The achievement that we made with regard to the stakeholder, in the past, all the issues related to EPWP, including not meeting the target, was the issue of EPWP division, though the job creation thing is for the city as a whole. We managed to include the risk department of the city to form part of the coordination of EPWP, whereby all the letters pertaining to no performance or poor performance, they are communicated straight to that department for accountability. So what I'm trying to say, that is one key stakeholder that should be looked at in order to support the implementation of EPWP going forward and to make things very easy for the division as a whole in all the cities. So going forward, the other key stakeholder is CETAs or training institutions. I'm concerned about the issue of training is lagging behind in most of work opportunities created. So we need to look at how to rope in training institutions or different CETAs to form part of EPWP implementation and contribute. Like for instance, in institutions like City of Tshwane, where we have academy, a training academy, the more focus is on permanent city employees. So the focus should also take into consideration EPWP participants, because all the courses that are offered there are designed to cater for city permanent employees. So that is something that we can look at to introduce in the future in moving forward the implementation of EPWP. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alice, for those very insightful comments, especially now considering what it is that we are wanting for the future and the kinds of interventions that we foresee, which really shows how it is that as EPWP lead practitioners there's always that element in terms of thinking about how it is that we're able to do more and award more impact to the program and not be satisfied with the status quo. So I just want to thank all the city representatives who have been able to share their particular perspectives and their insight. I don't think it gets any better than that, than to hear it, especially from people who are hands-on and who are at the brunt and the face in terms of what it is that it is transpiring to get these programs to be successful and to see the work opportunities and to see the targets being met within the cities. So I really want to congratulate all the practitioners and our stakeholders in their concerted efforts. We really do appreciate that. And obviously, we would love to stay and have these kind of conversations all day long. But as you do know, that we had planned to keep this session quite short pertaining to the launch. And so I'd just like to hand over to Kopano Nzaune, who is our junior researcher at South African Cities Network, to please provide us with a word of thanks.
Yes, but. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Nomfundo, can you please give me a peace sign if you can hear me clearly? Okay, great. Thanks and good morning, colleagues. As Nomfundo indicated, my name is Kopano Nzaune, and I'm the Intern Research in Productive Cities Program of the SACN. And mine here is basically to convey my sincere gratitude on behalf of everyone for the incredible amount of work that was put into this research. I think as someone who jumped into this ship that was already cruising, I can say without a shadow of doubt that the importance of this group cannot be overstated, considering the scale of unemployment. And from what I've read and heard from the cities, is that most EPWP activities and plans have been halted because of the pandemic. And this is common in almost every city. So perhaps this is an opportunity for us to consider reforms that can strengthen this flagship employment program going forward, and perhaps consider engineering the program from an institutional and implementation perspective, especially in light of the fact that the program is transitioning to phase 4. And again, just making an observation, the socio-economic landscape and the market forces are changing at a very fast rate. And perhaps this is the time for us to ask ourselves some really critical questions to say that how do we then expand the scope of opportunities in EPWP beyond that which was traditionally offered, and maybe explore more strategic partnerships to further strengthen the program. Mr. Ignatius Ario, whose capable leadership led us here, spoke of political buy-in in cities. I think that is very important. But again, what is more important is to leverage the role that the private sector can play in this program. Just this week, I was listening to the president on the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium to say that there's a need to actually strengthen partnership in infrastructure, because that's pretty much where the economy is moving. So our country is slowly moving into being a construction site, and I think there's a huge role that the EPWP can play there. So not to be long, Chairperson, I would just like to thank everybody for every role that they played in making this possible. I don't think it would have been possible if any one of you didn't act in whatever way they acted from wherever they were. And having this first visual launch or reference group, it's one of those things. So thank you very much, Realabora, Siabonga, Siabulela, Ikensankofu. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Over to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kopano, for that word of thanks. Sincerely coming also from a very informed youth perspective, which sometimes we tend to negate. So thank you so much, Kopano, for your sentiments. I just wanted to highlight going forward, especially for people who are quite interested in also viewing, excuse me, the actual launch, the actual report. We do have some technical challenges on our side pertaining to our website, but what it is that we will do is that we will be sharing a thank you email to everybody who has joined in on this particular conversation and participated in our launch, and that email will have a link to the actual report, and then colleagues will be able to access the report from there. At a later stage, we will also be having physical copies of the report available, but obviously right now, due to COVID restrictions, we weren't able to physically print, so the electronic version will be made available. So for colleagues who might not know how to access at a later stage as well, our website, our comms colleagues have just included in our chat the website link to the South African Cities Network, where you can also access our previous publications going forward. I just wanted to highlight, especially for the EPWP reference group members, that we will be leaving this particular conversation pertaining to the launch and joining in on a separate link that pertains to our reference group meeting. So if all those colleagues can please not disappear, but utilize the additional link that will take us through to our meeting. And then without further ado, I'd like to also excuse everybody else who have been gracious enough to also understand our time implications pertaining to this particular launch. But I think it was well worth listening to all the sentiments and the elements of advice and insight that we were able to get. So thank you so much. Please do feel free to contact us through the inquiries email for anybody who might have questions pertaining to the actual program as well as our publications. And without further ado, thank you, colleagues, and thank you to all our stakeholders and our friends who came through and participated in this launch. So good day to everybody, and yeah, have a lovely rest of the day. And EPWP reference group members will tune in on the other side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.